Hi. Hello, hello, and welcome to another public class from HollyTreeEnglish.com. My name is Holly, or Teacher Holly, and I want to welcome Anatoly, who is here already, and everyone else to another public class. And this public class is a conversation class about travel. It's session 2 for people who want or need to join a little later in my day. So welcome, Anatoly.
Thank you very much. Hello.
How are you?
I am fine, thank you. Today's topic is traveling, and just tomorrow I am going to fly to my vacation. Yes,
Ooh,
and
you're going on vacation, yes, and you requested that we have conversations about travel. So just to show you that I read your emails. Well, that's exciting. Where are you going?
I am going to visit Greece in that time. My place for my holiday located near Olympic Mountain.
Oh, Mount Olympus? Or no,
Mount Olympic, yes, below Olympic, my beach.
Wow. And is it just you, or are you taking your family?
With family.
Very nice. Very nice. Yes. I have never been to Greece before.
I was in on island Crete, Rhodes, and Cyprus, very similar to Greece. They also speak in Greece language, and yes, I was also there, and I remember especially very clean and clean water in Mediterranean Sea, in the place where Greece is located.
Yes, that sounds great. I have friends actually who have recently traveled to and returned from Greece, and it sounds like an interesting place to visit. I have eaten some Greek food, but in the US.
We also it is very famous in my country, Greece salad. And
Greek salad.
Greek salad, yes. The most important ingredient there, cheese feta.
Feta cheese, yes, yum. It's interesting. I like feta cheese in or like on toast or in a salad, but I don't like it by itself.
Yes, I agree. It's better to eat inside salad.
Yeah, it's good on a piece of toast as well, but in salad is the best. Okay, so the first question that I asked you to think about was a very simple one, of course. Where have you traveled already? And you have already named some places. Where else have you traveled?
Last in previous year, I visited Italy. I stayed in Sanremo. It is a city where which we know for very famous, especially in my country. I think in Italy and in Russia too, festival, musician festival, and it is near French border, and most of excursions which we had were through the French border in French. In that time, I visited Nice, not Cannes, Monaco, Monte Carlo, city Monte Carlo, and a few less famous places like French Village and Ventimiglia. It is a city, a small city between Italy and French. In fact, it is Italy, but it is a point where we changed a train to French train from Italy train and
I
reverse.
see.
It was a very interesting trip because it is this place. It is very how we can say rich, not rich, and lots of entertainment, lots of sightseeings. We can find the good service around. It is maybe one of the most comfortable places in Italy. They cold coasts. I mean near sea, something like that.
Oh boy. I'm trying to think of the word.
Liguria, it is a name of this place.
I really don't know. I am not well traveled, obviously. I don't think, maybe I have heard of this place, but not very much. In the US, if you are someone who has the chance to travel abroad, it's, as we say in English, a big deal. Traveling abroad from the US, unless you're traveling just to Canada or Mexico, is very expensive. Sometimes not so expensive if you get a tour package, but it depends on your reason for traveling. If you want the tour package, then of course you're going to be moving through the country very quickly, and so a lot of people travel within the US, like me, which can also be expensive depending on whether or not you can find a good plane ticket. But I have only traveled within the US. I have never traveled outside the US. I should say not yet. That is one of my dreams. It is on my bucket list.
I found that we can find very cheap tickets for the plane. For example, probably my next day off will be in November, and if I just now I'm looking to Momondo.com site, and for example, maybe I need to change in American dollars. 1 second, and the cost is so affordable. For example, flight from Moscow to Paris, it cost only $62.
You're kidding me.
Yes, no. It is on 26 November, for example. I looked to that time. $62. We need 8 hours, but it is not direct flight. We need to go through Athens.
Oh yeah, and here the plane tickets are cheaper if you make connections also. For example, I traveled to Indiana and I had to make a connection in Denver and another one in Houston. So these Colorado and Texas. So that was the cheapest way, but it was like as long as traveling overseas. I traveled for 11 hours, including like the layovers, waiting for the next flight. And oh goodness. But yeah, here also, if you order in advance, you can get some deal. I would be very surprised, though, to find a ticket for $62 for that distance in the US.
We can try for that time, from example, from which? From New York to?
From New York City, let's say New York City to Boston.
Boston, okay. For 26 November, the lowest price, it's searching, $85.
Oh my gosh.
But
Wow, okay, I
it
need the
is
link.
direct. It is a direct.
Uh-huh.
This is a link for this choice.
Uh-huh. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a desire to fly from New York to Boston, but this sounds like a good website for finding plane tickets.
Yes. This site recommended me was recommended by my colleague who very patient in traveling. It is like desire, like game, to find the cheapest ticket and to visit the most unusual, exotic place for him. He told that one of his loveliest site, this one.
Yeah, I bookmarked this this link that you sent me, so I will have to. That is great. Maybe that will help me realize my dream of traveling someday. Yay! Okay, yes. So the next question, actually, it's a good way to transition, is the next question is, which places that you have not been, where would you like to travel in the future?
My dream is to visit Australia, and using this site, I also looked to the how expensive it could be. I found that visiting in some days, for example, in November, on the west of Australia, the city Perth, it is a capital city of West Australia. It is not so expensive as, for example, flight from Moscow to Sydney. But in that case, if I would want to visit Sydney, I need to go through the 3,000 kilometers from this city, Perth, to Sydney. and it appeared that Australia is a very big continent, very big country, and traveling inside Australia, we need much more budget than just for visiting one point in Australia.
Yeah, you need because you need to, not only do you need to pay for the plane ticket, but you have to pay for the hotel and the car and yeah. But Australia.
I imagined kangaroos.
Kangaroo.
Kangaroos who are running across the streets.
I don't know if they do that. Apparently, I know that there is a hunting season for kangaroos in Australia. Internationally, I learned about this in high school. Internationally, they are an endangered species, but in Australia, they have to control the population because it's too big and the kangaroos, too many of them destroy the crops.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be funny, a kangaroo traffic jam.
Mm-hmm.
That would
By
be
the
really
way,
fun.
I looked a price for one tickets in one direction from Moscow to Perth, $501.
Ouch. Now that sounds more like what you would find in the US if you wanted to travel a distance. Wow.
To New York, 1 second. It is not so expensive from Moscow to New York. For example, now on this site, it shows me for 12 November, the price from Moscow to New York, $215.
Wow.
It's cheap also.
Well, then come to the US. That works. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, that's one reason why I love these public classes. You never know who will come, and you never know what you will learn.
Yes, 1 year ago on May, in the last part of April and May, we visited three, one of the most famous cities, biggest city in Europe. We visited from Moscow to Wien, Austria, from Wien to Rome, and from Rome to Paris, and from Paris to Moscow. And I don't remember exactly price, but it is comparable. For example, from Rome to Paris, the price was similar to price taxi near Moscow. Something from centrum of Moscow to the place near Moscow. It was very cheap. We fly it using low coaster from Britain, from the United Kingdom. How we can call it? EasyJet, yes. And I liked it. Very good Boeings. There are some tricks there on low coasters. For example, if you don't buy additional ticket for luggage, you can take with you only, I think, 10 kilograms, one person, 10 kilograms. as a handled luggage.
So about 20 pounds around.
Yes, but if we during buying tickets, we can pay small additional price for the place for our luggage. But if we do not buy it, but if we decided to buy it in airport just before flying, it would be cost more than exactly flight. And it is ways how these low costers uh, have their money. Because cheaper tickets for flights they compensate it using some tricks like I described now.
So a couple of things. The city in Austria, in English, we call it Vienna.
Vienna, okay.
Vienna. And low costers, that word makes sense, but we would be more likely to say cheap flights.
Cheap flights, okay.
So very interesting. So it's probably better to pay the fee up front when you order your ticket, just to buy a luggage, pay a luggage fee, because for me, depending on where I go, I don't know how much luggage I would need, and very interesting. I will have to, as we say, keep that in mind when I am ready to travel. I want to go. One of my dreams is to go to Canada, because there are some people I know there that I want to meet very much. And so mostly for the people. Canada is not so far from the US. But I also want to go to Ireland and Scotland. I have heritage, or we can say family history there. And for many years now, I have been listening to and singing their folk songs. So that is definitely on my list.
Yes, I also like Scotland. I have never been there, but I saw very colorful photos from Scotland, and I'm sure it could be very interesting to visit this place. But it is a very expensive visa. I'm not sure about pronunciation. Visa to the UK is expensive enough. Uh, I think it costs near $100 only one visa. It is not cheap.
I don't know. $100, I think, is yeah. I'm not sure how much a visa costs from the U.S. to go to any of those countries. I have looked at the cost just for a passport, and I think it's about $50 to get a passport. But I don't remember for sure. It might actually be more than that. But yeah, the nice thing is that for my first dream, going to Canada, I don't need a visa. You can get into Canada from the US without getting a visa, or I don't think you even need a passport. But I don't remember for sure. So you do need an ID, which I have. So That's nice. That will probably be my first travel destination, just because it's the easiest. It's the easiest one, and I think that will make it the best one for a first experience out of the country. If that makes any sense, because I have no experience going out of the country. So that will probably be best for my first experience, and I don't have to think about language barrier for my first time. And of course, or I could just come to Russia, since I'm learning Russian, and and it will force me to learn more Russian, so I don't have to think about language barrier.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is very good stimul, motivation, good motivation. If you are going to visit a place, and it motivates you to study language very much.
Definitely, definitely. Yes, so if you are going to visit Australia, you will need to continue your quest, your journey to learn English. Yeah.
Yes.
Great. So why Australia? I'm curious.
I think the nature maybe the most interesting part of that journey, because I wonder why kangaroos we can find, or koalas we can find only in Australia. No, no other places, only in Australia. And also, I don't know, for me it looks like life on reverse. I don't know how we can say, when we change up and down, because on the globe, Australia, on the different part of the globe, when we have winter, they have summer, and it is next which attract me. I don't know.
Life turned upside down. That's interesting. Yes, yes. I had a student for a short time in New Zealand, and the different seasons, and I have taught students in South America. In fact, I am teaching students in South America, I should say, and they are the same way. They have I think for them it's winter now, and it's summer where I live. So yeah, very, very interesting. To suddenly land in a place and it's a totally different season. Yeah.
And near Australia, there is Tasmania, island Tasmania. When I looked to Tasmania through the Google Map, it is a very good way to explore a place. I always saw very unusual pictures, very colorful pictures. It is very attractive place, I think, because the nature, mostly.
I like nature too, but for me, I think I want to go to Ireland and these other places for the people. to know more about the people and to interact with the people, and also to hear about the history and be in the place where the history happened, if that makes any sense. So, for example, to travel through, there's a city in Ireland called Drogheda, and it's a famous city. There was a very famous battle there hundreds of years ago, and to think about, hear about, or read about that battle and the things that happened there while in Drogheda would be very interesting to me.
Hmm. Being in Second Life, it is a virtual world. I think I told about it. I studied and I practiced English there. I visited Alarmo. It is a virtual Alarmo. I think is it right? Near Mexico border in the United States. And this place is famous for the battle.
The Alamo.
Alamo, oh, yeah, Alamo, yes. And I remember when I visited this place in virtual world, the my teacher, we visited with my we practiced I practiced English with one teacher who is from the United States, and he asked me if I could see ground on this inside this fortress. Yes, and it looked not smooth with how a little breaking, and he told story that he was young before army. He visited this place. It was very usual for the young men who are going to serve in army to visit this place because it is a part of patriotic education. And he asked, can I see this ground and imagine how smelt is it, because in this place it is very this place is concluded water underground, and he described the smell uh, showing me some views which demonstrate it, and I remember my feelings. I felt as I was in a real Alamo, and after that I looked to this place through Google Map, and it added added something to my view, and it is similar as I visited this place, but it was a virtual trip, but also very interesting.
Second Life, I have heard a little bit, I have heard of it, but I don't really understand what Second Life, what is that?
It is a virtual world. We enter to this world using avatars, and we can move inside this world. We can talk, we can chat, texting there. With we can communicate with other avatars, and inside this world, was built many sightings. For example, I visited the Dresden Gallery. It doesn't exist now. With pictures, most of pictures from real Dresden Gallery I saw there before I visited real Dresden Gallery in Dresden, in Germany. And next, I remember I visited New Orleans,
Ah,
recreation.
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Mhm. Yes, it is interesting. But after I changed my computer from PC to Mac, I understood that for Mac it doesn't work well. Second Life. Only for Windows system it works good. For other systems like Linux and especially on Mac, it doesn't work well, and sometimes I visit for the classes. For example, today in the morning I visited. It is not class; it is a free event. There we were reading text, and we discussed about text. In that case, today we talked about cartoon. I didn't hear about this cartoon before. Just a second, I will find information. It is about minions. Minions, I think. Minions, yes. Minions movie. If you know Minions movie, after that I read in Wikipedia about it. This one.
Minions movie. Yeah. Is it Minion Rush? Yeah, or something. My brother's family has it. I have never watched the whole thing. I haven't even watched all of Despicable Me 2 or 1 yet. Interesting story. I was on my trip to Indiana. I was watching Despicable Me 2 in the theater with my aunt and my little cousin, her granddaughter. And there was a storm and the power went out like maybe less than halfway through the movie, and we almost got stuck in the flood. It was crazy. And in Indiana, there's a lot more rain than where I live. And so I posted on Facebook, I said, these things are only supposed to happen in my books, not to me in real life. I was joking, but anyway, yes, the Minion movie, I have heard of it, and the Minions, they're so funny. So yeah, Second Life, it seems like a good place to learn and practice your English. So are there a lot of English teachers that use that?
I studied there in very big school. I'm not sure big or not big. It was language lab, and I studied there. I think 2 years, maybe 1 or 2 years, but they stopped their business because it wasn't profitable probably enough, and maybe they lost their money. It was a venture company which was located in London, and I know that one of my classmates, maybe not only one, visited this their office in London, and two students became a couple. I think they married, but I'm not sure.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
yes,
Uh-huh.
he is from Germany, but he lived and lives in Thailand, and she is from South Korea. Korea. They met in that school, the avatars, and they became friends. And after that, they visited parents of each other. They visited also Moscow, and they invited to meet, but I wasn't able in that time because I was away from Moscow, out of Moscow. And yes, it's interesting. One of the interesting story. I heard other similar stories inside Second Life. But for now, I know only two free communities there. It is Atlantis for studying languages, mostly for English, but not only. Sometimes they give French classes or events. It is not often. And in a week in Atlantis, I think they give maybe 3, maybe 4 times in a week, but I'm able to participate only weekend, and only in weekend I think once a week. Um, Once or maybe 2 a week is suitable for me, but they now have a summer break, and in Cyprus twice a week. Yes, okay, thank you. And in Cyprus chat, it is a second community. They also give similar number of events, maybe less. I'm not sure. And yes, I published information about some events on my blog sometimes.
Yeah, I've seen those, and your most recent one, the task that you had to complete. I
Mhm.
thought that was really interesting. Having a task and students have to write about it, and I really have to say I think the word is admire. I think that you have a lot of courage, because a lot of my students are so nervous to. Some of them are too nervous. They are nervous about joining these public classes because they're on YouTube. Of course, you have done things like that before. It's not new for you. But writing in a blog, on a blog, blah, blah, I can't even use the correct prepositions today. Um, um, Writing on a blog, and just practicing that way, and I think that's great.
Yes, thank you. I read that writing is also necessary for success in studying a foreign language, and I agree. We use very different part of our minds during writing, and
Mhm.
vocabulary when I'm writing. No, I don't look to the dictionary or other. I use only memory, but my vocabulary during the writing exercises is very different, um, comparing with conversation vocabulary which I use in conversation, for example. I don't
Mhm.
know why, but probably as I mentioned before, we use very different part of our conscience, our mind.
Yes, we do, and the you have time to think and form your sentences. I know that when I write, sometimes I'm forming my sentences before I write them. So, it is different. I will say that I like the fact that you are not someone who tries to speak too quickly. Sometimes sometimes people have the idea that speaking quickly is the same as speaking well, or somehow they are afraid that if they don't speak quickly, they don't speak well. And at certain levels, it's actually better to speak slowly because you give yourself a little more time to think, and you give your listener, native speaker or non-native speaker, time to follow you and listen to you. And it also helps your understandability if you have trouble pronouncing. So that's a really long way of saying отлично, good job.
I remember a couple of times when foreigners, not native English speakers, said thanks for my speech because they said that they understood completely what I was saying. Probably because I not wasn't hurry in my speech, and I was surprised he listening it because it is one of the most important, maybe the most important in language, if others could understand you. More important that show how quickly, how fast could be speech.
And the speed, of course, speed is good, but it comes with confidence and knowing the language. And the more confident you are, and the more what's the word I'm looking for? The more comfortable you are with the language, the quicker you will speak naturally. It will happen, but it's important not to hurry to get there too fast, because sometimes if you hurry and your English is the word we use, it is all over the place, then it's very difficult for people to follow you. But yeah, so good job not hurrying, and it will also help you because you will have a little more time to think of what you're saying before you say it.
By the way, I remember I phoned to the hotel which I was going to stay in Greece now. It is a small hotel, and I didn't find information about safe there for keeping passports, money, etc. And I took a call there, and I asked, are they, can we find their safe, something like this. And the person who answered me, she didn't understand me. She thought that I asked about, I create about protection, about criminal situation there. And she ensured us that it is very safe place. No
Yeah.
robbers, etc. But after that, I explained I meant a box for keeping passports, money, and she replied, "Ah, not safe. Ah, safe, not safe." Similar
Do you
sounds.
have a safe?
Do you have a safe? Yes.
Because can you find their actually what I thought you were going to say when you repeated your question, can we find their safe was
Safe place.
that no, that they thought you were looking for the safe so you could open
It is a different option.
I think we will refund your money and you can stay at another hotel.
That's funny.
Wow, I have never heard you laugh so hard. Mm. Yeah, yeah. So the best way to phrase this question in the future is, do you have a safe? Or if you want to say it a little more politely, you could say, I was wondering if, oops, I was wondering if you have a safe for guests to store valuables. Valuables, or you can just say passports, something like this. I was wondering, I know it's past tense, but this is sometimes we use past tense in English to create a little bit of language distance. And this is one of the ways that we show politeness in English, by creating a little bit of language distance. It reduces the pressure on the person and therefore it is more polite. I was wondering, I would like to know, I wanted to ask.
I will keep this phrase, and I will try to use this phrase just tomorrow in the evening when we
Lovely.
come.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, and if you want to practice in these classes or with another teacher, you can use this phrase, I was wondering, or I wanted to ask you. You can use it with many situations. I was wondering when you will have your next class, or I was wondering when, I don't know. I was wondering what kind of peanuts you eat in your country. No. Yes. Do you have any other funny travel stories like that? That was great.
I remember when I was in Amsterdam. It was many years ago. I visited this place on the ship, and we have one day ship off. I'm not sure.
On shore?
On shore, yes. And I asked the way to the port in purpose to find my ship. And couple asked me uh, how they could describe this way on each language, on French, on German, on Dutch language. I don't remember, but I was surprised how many languages they mentioned. And when I answered in Russian, could you describe me in Russian? They described me in Russian language. I think they used maybe 4, maybe 5 languages before they started to speak in Russian. And it was
Wow.
very surprising for me, but after that, I visited European countries like Sweden. Mhm. And I know that from the kindergarten they study lots of languages, and it
Mm-hmm.
is for European people, for Switzerland, for example, it is very naturally to speak in many languages.
Yeah, they do tend to speak in many languages. In the US, we are required to, in high school in my state, we are required to study 1 year of a foreign language. And usually the school has, my school had 3 choices, Spanish, French, or German. And I
Mhm.
chose German, and I studied it for 4 years, um, because even then I liked languages. So, um, but what tends to happen here, as in many countries, is you study the language in school and then you forget it. Unless it's Spanish, here in my state, it is somewhat likely or possible that you will keep your Spanish, because Spanish is, I think, the second most common language in my state. So it's very common to find, for example, if you call a lot of the different numbers, you call the bank, you call the phone company, they say para español, marque número dos,
Mhm.
press 9, or 2, dos is 2. Sometimes it's marque nueve, which is 9. So yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, it is a reason why they know so many language, because they use them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And in session 1, the earlier session, the student pointed out that in Europe, at least in Western Europe, I'm not sure about Eastern Europe, but the countries are so close together that it's easy to travel from one place to another, so that it's much more common, I guess. And here, if you say that you've been to Europe, everyone is like, wow, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I don't have any funny travel stories, even though I have traveled in the US. I did almost lose my ticket when I was going from, when I was making a connecting flight. It fell out of my pocket, and thankfully someone honest um, turned it into the gate counter.
Mhm.
So we found it fairly quickly, but that was very, very stressful.
Mm. Yes, agree.
Yes, I never carried a ticket in that pocket again.
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay, so you are going to Greece tomorrow, and are you going to eat some feta cheese?
We booked hotel with breakfasts, only breakfast. And are you asking about restaurants, about food? Or yes,
Feta
and
cheese, like.
yes, yes. I know that there are lots of taverns, the taverns,
Mhm.
and it is also a good way to explore different culture through the kitchen, through the food.
You have to try, if you have not already, you have to try lukumades. It's a pastry. We have a Greek population here where I live in, so we have a Greek festival, and so two foods that you have to try if you can are lukumades. It's like balls of dough with honey, and they're delicious. And pastizo. It's a little bit similar to lasagna, and it's very tasty as well.
Could you type it? Because it is difficult to remember.
Oh goodness, I have no idea how to spell it.
It is not necessary to spell it correctly, just as it sounds in
Okay,
English. I think
one second.
they will understand us when we asked. When we will ask. When
Okay,
we ask.
pastizo and
Uh-huh.
lukumades.
Okay, thank you very much.
Lukumades. Yeah. If you say balls, like balls of dough with honey, and it's like honey and oil, it's very good. And I'm sure you have already tasted baklava.
Yes, yes, it is sweet, sweet, sweet.
Mhm. Okay, so it is time for me to end the class. I'm going to say thank you to Anatoly for joining me in class and having a very interesting conversation. And I will say thank you to everyone who has watched or who will watch. If this class has been useful for you, please feel free to like it, share it, or subscribe. And please check out hollytreeenglish.com if you are interested in my blog posts or in private lessons. Thank you for watching. See you next time.